travellers, Chris here and welcome to Rainbow Beach. We are off to Fraser Island today on a day trip, and normally we would take our own four-wheel drive over to Fraser Island, but when you're strapped a little for time, it does make sense to actually go over on a day trip. So we're taking a tour. We're just meeting downtown for the bus now, and I'm going to show you obviously what we're going to see on a day trip and see whether it's worth it to actually organise your own trip over there or to take a tour. So I hope you enjoy, guys, so let's get to it.
Ferry, or often known as Fraser Island, is the biggest sand island in the world and visited by over 300,000 tourists each year. Day tours leave from Rainbow Beach and Hervey Bay, and you have some overnight tours leaving from both them and Brisbane. If you want to look at booking any of these tours, please check out the Fraser Island blog in the description below. As we're leaving from Rainbow Beach today, the meet-up point was outside the Tourist Information Centre in the centre of town. The central business district is very small in Rainbow Beach, so you shouldn't have any problems finding it. After everyone was on board, we had a short 10-minute ride to Inskip Point, which is the four-wheel drive track that jumps onto the MantaRay barge over to Fraser Island. Note that this is the biggest drawcard for taking a tour, as they get priority onto the barge. Everyone else buys a ticket and waits in lines up until they get on, which in busy times means that you could be waiting for a while and see a couple of barges come and go. The ride over to Ferry or Fraser Island will take about 10 to 15 minutes. You can get out and have a look around, but can be a little windy going through the passage. It was raining for us in the morning at Rainbow Beach, but it ended up being a great day for exploring, just a little cloudy. The barge will have you driving onto Fraser Island onto the southern tip, and you'll start to make your way up the east side of the island to the highlights on this tour today. The tide times do matter with your access to the beach and whether you need to drive the inland tracks. Our tour takes the worry out of knowing that, because they do that for you, but you will need to read into it if you're going to go over by yourself. Our first stop today will be the Ferry Beach Resort, which is only recently being changed from the Moreton Beach Resort. This is where you're going to find fixed accommodations, restaurants, coffees, cafes and a small supermarket, and of course your fuel. Many will stop here for their supplies, catch up with friends, or get their morning coffee before heading back down to the beach. We stopped here today for our first toilet break before the day's exploration on the island. Our first highlight today, we have the SS Moreton shipwreck. The Moreton shipwreck is the most famous of Fraser Island's wrecks and has become a landmark attraction. It was built in 1905. The SS Moreton was one of the first turbine-driven steamers. It was the first used as a hospital ship in World War I, and then later purchased by a Sydney company to travel between Australia and New Zealand. Sold to Japan in 1935, and on her way there, the ship found itself in the middle of a seasonal cyclone of Fraser Island's coastline and then washed upon the shores of 75 Mile Beach. Today, she sits on the beach side, slowly eroding away right on the beach and slowly sinking into the sand. Next up, we have the Pinnacles Rock Formation, which is located just north of the Moreton shipwreck. These coloured sands are an amazing must-see phenomenon and gives visitors a chance to see the natural history of Fraser Island through sand formations. Studies show that the sand layers are the result of wind, rain, and the fusion of sand and clay formed over thousands of years. It has 72 different colours in each layer and are a great place to grab photos and marvel at the island's beauty. There's only a short 5-minute walking path from the beach to see the pinnacles up close, but I think the view back from the beach is better, so then you can see them in their entirety. No trip to Fraser would be complete without a stopover or a swim down Eli Creek. Now, Eli Creek is a large freshwater creek on the eastern side of the island, and there are two different options you can do to enjoy it. You can choose to walk up the creek from the beach and either walk back or float back, letting the stream carry you back to the beach. Your second option is to meander along the formed wooden boardwalk fringed by ferns and paper barks. Once again, you can either walk back to the beach through the water or float with very little effort down the creek all the way back to the beach. You'll find the waters of Eli Creek to be on the cooler side all year round, especially when you're going through some of the forest areas. This is also one of the most popular areas to swim and the easiest to get to. Most of the time, this will be a nice refreshing break from the summer heat and a brilliant cool off. With the overcast day that we had, we wanted to leave the swimming for Lake Mackenzie and chose to walk down Eli Creek instead. Make sure you're on the lookout for fish and eels in the water too. This was also where we ran into a dingo. You'll find dingoes all over the island and randomly on the beach, especially at dusk or dawn. It's best to give them some distance and under no circumstances give them any food. Make sure small children are at arm's length, and when you see a dingo around, it's safer to walk in groups. The whole time you're on the island, you need to be mindful of the dingoes and always make sure that food is packed up securely, especially if you're camping. There are roughly about 25 to 30 packs of dingoes on Fraser Island and only breed once a year. The adults are as big as a medium-sized dog, but they don't bark, instead howl like wolves. Conveniently, the two major resorts and some caravan parks have dingo fences provided, just to help protect the visitors. Next, we started making the journey through Fraser Island's inland tracks to Lake Mackenzie. Now, if you are ever looking for paradise, then look no further than this spot. It's about 5 or 6 kilometres driving through the four-wheel drive tracks from Central Station, and you'll finally get to the car park. It's handy that this spot also has toilets and change rooms available. After a quick 5-minute walk down the sandy pathway track, you get to this ultimate swimming location. This is one of the most visited natural wonders in Australia and a must-do on any tour of Fraser Island. It's called the Jewel of the Island, and a title well earned for its beautiful turquoise water.
Well, it's been quite a few years since I've actually been here, probably over 10 years actually, but Lake Mackenzie never gets boring. It is absolutely beautiful here. Could be, we've got some rain clouds coming over, so it could be a little brighter with a little more sunlight, but still absolutely fantastic. Just a little chilly today, so I didn't stay in the water for too long.
It's perfect for the kids to swim in the calm waters, and the high natural acidity levels make it virtually impossible for most plants and fish life to flourish, making it truly one of the most spectacular and relaxing swimming spots one could ask for. Next, we pushed on through the four-wheel drive tracks to Central Station. This is where we were going to explore some of the rainforest. Did you know that Fraser Island has the only rainforest growing in sand at elevations more than 200 metres? This area is home to the Corey pines, king ferns, crystal clear creeks, giant staghorns, strangler figs, and abundance of wildlife. The Woolgoolga Creek Boardwalk only took about 10 to 15 minutes to walk along, and that included the commentary from the guide. Learn about the different plants and wildlife in the area and ask as many questions as you like. Take as many photos, listen for the majestic sounds, and be amazed at what you're witnessing. Now, Central Station was our last stop for the day on this tour, but there are a couple of highlights I wanted to mention that's possible to see on the 2-day tours. Indian Head is the most easterly point of the island, only a short 10-minute walk to get up to the top, and best views of 75 Mile Beach. You can also spot for turtles, dolphins in the waters below. Champagne pools are naturally formed rock pools that creates a bubble spa when the waves come over. It's best at low tide and very popular with the tourists. And lastly, we have Lake Wobbe, which is another freshwater lake, slightly greenish in colour. It's the deepest lake on the island and does have a longer walk to get to. From memory, I think it was about 45 minutes to 1 hour one way. These three are worth to visit too, and if you book the overnight tours through the blog in the description below, you can see these as well. After all of that is over, you'll drive back to the MantaRay barge and wait for your transfer back to Inskip Point and Rainbow Beach. Since you've just explored the biggest sand island in the world, why don't you click here and check out the second biggest, which is North Stradbroke Island off the coast of Brisbane. I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.